He's in it. Zordon, he's coming out of some sort of galactic glory hole. I use a voice changer to hide my identity. He's just like Ghostface. What's your favorite position?
Alpha team is flying around the forest, situated in
Amazingly engrossed like that.
Oh wow, dude, she's like farted blood out. Like, blah. And it's like, cool.
No, I don't have a full costume, but that would be dope though, wouldn't it? I wish. I would kill for a fucking Colonial Marine outfit. What up, your boy? Boy.
It's only 2 days for retirement.
Echo DMs? Sending me.
Alright, let's go.
Oh god, wearing the hoodie. It's my lucky hoodie.
For a bike helmet? I don't have one. That would be kind of funny too, like just like a lo-fi, barely scrapped together one. Okay, I actually have to change my sources. Oops. Hey, stop it. Display capture. Good do it. Borrow Jay's helmet. It wouldn't fit. It looks like he's a little big ass head. What are you up to, dude? NVIDIA. How is you? Big ass head, perfect for the fro, right? It just conforms perfectly with the hair. That would be kind of funny. I want an Alien Star Wars crossover. Okay. Wait. I think I launched the wrong game. Is this Colonial Marines? That's funny. I launched Colonial Marines. Dumbass. Let me close this. Okay. Oops. Aliens versus Predator. You silly goose. Ah! Da 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 ba 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 da 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 ba.
Sega.
Got a code rave at my place. I repeat, code rave. I don't know what that means. Also, it's 9:30 p.m. on a fucking Thursday. why are people hitting me up for plans now? That's annoying. So legit question, why can you launch and play those games but high on life just about destroys your PC? I don't know. It was just a couple of times. It happens it's not unheard of, you know? First, don't you have like a 50, I have a 4090. But yeah, high on life, it slowed down my stream. That's all. So your boy, I don't know if this is part of it. I mean, I'm sure there is, but even though I have a decent processor, I think it's still getting hit with a bunch of stuff. You know, it's got to play the game, encode the video, and then stream that while I have, you know, I'm monitoring my shit. I was close to buying two 5090s, but Carrie would get mad at me. I mean, you could buy one of them and give it to me. That'd be fine. I wouldn't be mad. You didn't have to know. What are you up to, Paul? Welcome in, sir. Oh, the smart gun. That's actually fun to use in this game. Ah, where was I? Where was it? Oh, that's right. I got dragged away. Despite 2 and melt 1 down for the yeah, I still think it's bullshit that a handgun could kill a Xeno, but, you know. Oh, whoa, whoa. Alright. my god, it's so loud. Is it really? Sorry. Is it really? Let me tab over and maybe turn down the source audio. Nah, fuck. Everything seems normal. I'll lower. Sound mixer. I still have stuff tied to like one thing. Let me just lower AVP to like maybe, what do you think? 75? Just give that a whirl. I'm very dependent on your feedback, by the way. Is 69? Nice. Oh, and that thing again. It's good on my end.
It's quiet now. I haven't heard any screams for a while.
Oh, you know what? It was peaking. I see that.
I can hear them moving around sometimes, coming up from below. There's something else down there, too.
I think it's better. I couldn't hear.
Something big.
We're talking really before. Okay, well, thanks for letting me know. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Because yeah, I'm usually adjusting my audio beforehand based on what I'm playing on.
I haven't
Because
heard any screams for a while.
I can listen to it while playing.
I can hear them moving around
the audio for like the Elgato
coming up from below,
or different consoles with that.
There's
even
something else down
it all comes in at different like volumes. I have to kind of adjust. I usually mute once you start talking about how much you love Trump, so not used to the volume on chat stream. That's fair. How's your Trump Saves America game going? Why don't you just stream it? If I keep this up, eventually I'll convince everyone that you're a hardcore MAGA. I don't take a lot of work, man. Can you get that T1 Trump phone is dropping? No. I'd rather get a hot sauce enema. Honestly, I haven't touched that in a while. I've been working on a real AI project for a few months at night. God damn! What up? What up, bloody? How you doing, sir? He's too fast! Too furious! Slow down! Stop! Alright. Thought you were dead. Glad you're back. Yeah, I had some emergency surgery last night after a parasite erupted from my chest, but I'm good. I'm good. They gave me a band-aid and sent me home. I didn't even miss work. It was great. He was last night. There was a whole intro. Yeah. Yeah, I actually showed Bloody the intro. I was like, eh? I worked hard on it. Yeah, out of his hole. Yeah, that's next year. Also, the fact that I can fucking back a fucking Xeno is also insane. I'm basically a superhero. Sup, the whole shebang. If it isn't 2025's best presidential pardon recipient, the bloody Kotex. What was he in trouble for that he had to be pardoned? What did you do? Tell the class. I wish there was more pickups than just audio logs, but whatever.
Katya.
McManus.
Katya. The way she talks, even the way she smiles. I wondered why they laughed when I started talking to her in the canteen that morning.
I don't think I can see the stream, but Ramirez frequents some kind of billionaire island. Oh, well, nobody's getting in trouble for that, so he's fine. He's fine. Pretty sure we got like a free pass there.
Shit, you must have an angel watching over you or something. Running a trace.
Tequila, I love you.
Blast door open.
Get back here, girl.
That's near Major Van Zandt's last known location. Before we lost
I
contact,
fucking love Alien.
I have to reestablish contact with the Major. Get to the top of
perfect
the
organism.
outbuilding. If you
Like, can you
realign
think
the
of, like-
dish, then I'll be able to log into the core network.
Like, it's
That
definitely
should
like
help
top
me reach Van Zandt
3
and any other survivors.
movie monsters. You know? But what are you up to, bro? Oxlo, let me see. Can I change to where shift is sprint instead of Q? It's weird. Shift taken. Let's see what we got. See what we're working with. Very shush. Nope. I'm gonna add it though. What the fuck? It's minimized. Shift. What the fuck is happening? It's like minimizing every time I try to change the controls. Still alive, I see. For now. We'll see. We'll see how long this lasts. What can? Favorite hoe. What? Oh my god. Now the game's minimizing? It's not launching? Okay. Not left alt. It's a left control, bitch. Left shift and Q. Okay, so we got both of those. All right. And I'm not conflicting with anything else anymore. So I think we Gucci, okay? Okay? All right. Red first. Yeah. And I still was 20 years last night because the only bussin' I'm here for is Joey's chest. Nice. What's up, Jay? Where is it? Yay, I sprint
Find
with
a way
the
into
sprint
that
button
building.
now.
I've got no reading for the power around there.
Actually, let me check up here. I feel like there's something. So Jay, are you gonna actually ban Limp Bizkit references on stream? Because that would actually be pretty funny. I like it when Bruce used to show up. He would push those buttons, you know.
I'm guessing you'll need to find an
Oh, I'm trying to
emergency
remember. There's totally like you can see.
Familiar?
If I remember correctly, you can see a predator here. Oh, there's predator blood. You're a fucker. I'm always horny. Right now, I'm debating on whether or not I want to be a dominatrix. You know, I mean, it's good to have goals.
I'm losing your signal. Watch your back in.
What do you have to lose? A chainsaw. What?
Find a power node to get that elevator working.
Asking your ass raw. What? Chainsaw. What? Motherfucking chainsaw. What? Things keep going this way, I might break your fucking face tonight. It's perfect because there's face hunters here. Oh, I'm wasting ammo. Don't do that. I'm already open though. That means there's, yeah. Oh shit. That's not good. No, that's not allowed. Wait, quick 3D printer question. Does Keurig allow for cutting something into 2 pieces if it's too big for the print area? Oh, that's a good question actually. I want to say yeah. I think you can, is there like a bisect option somewhere? It's a good question. Here, let me look that up for you real quick. I want to say yeah. Yeah. I'd fuck a chainsaw. You know, I believe it can. You'd find a way. Like, have you seen Beef? You're like fucking your own gun. And Kira, split and objects. Yeah, Kira can split objects, but often requires using plugins, specific techniques, rather than a large model. Rather than just separating already split parts. Best way to do this is by downloading Banana Split or a Mesh Tools plugin from the Kira marketplace, okay? Right into gas hole. Right here, hang on. Are you there? Are you there, buddy? Here, Banana Split or Mesh Tools plugin for Kira. There you go, bud. Look that up and let me know, because I just did a quick search and that's what the Google AI slop spat out. Oh, wait! Oh, wait. I thought I hit restart checkpoint by accident. Oh, dude, there's a fucking xenomorph right there. I'm not falling for that. Right? Or is it? Ah. Or it's like the hole. Also, I didn't realize that, that facehuggers have, local cords. Nah, I need my balls too. I got a Banana Split in the store. Okay, yeah, check that out. I think that's what you need. And worst case, do what I did and just Google or YouTube how to do it. I'm sure somebody figured it out. They made a nice video. Yeah. Oh! Fuck you.
Power's back. I've got no telemetry. Head out to the roof.
Everything reminds me of her. What's that joke from Predator? Wow, that's a big pussy. Wow, that's a big pussy. Huh? Yeah, in the first Predator movie, when they're on the plane and Shane Black, he's like, yeah, so I said to my wife, or whatever his fucking joke is. But she's like, I think there's two big pussy jokes. I'm forgetting the setup. I'm mixing up the punchline of the wrong one. The echo, yeah. Like, mine's as big as a house, which nobody laughs at, right? And then you got fucking Jesse the Body Ventura chewing tobacco, being like, this stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. And he says another line I can't risk saying here, but it's funny. You guys are just a bunch of slack-jawed J-Conkerses. Why don't play more shooters, like campaigns?
I
Would you guys be
could
down for
see
some Call of
Mr.
Duty
Whalen's
campaign streams?
excitement as he met me on the shuttle platform. The research facility is impressive, but it was the look in his eyes.
Well, I recently picked up
Something has his full attention. I've never seen him so alive.
Battlefield Hardline. Which I never got to play. I always wanted to. Paul, where is your dumbass little brother? He's lurking. Money for nudes? Fapping? Nah, gotta get Battlefield Hardcock. Starring Mama Cock. So hurry up and send some. I got you, bud.
Point the dish at the colony. I should be able to tap into something.
Pull your dick out. What up, Frenchie? I can, but I'll have to throw the camera back, like way back, or I need to get like the fucking IMAX cameras. Otherwise, you'll just see like skin. That's all. It'll cut out, you know. You won't be able to make it out. What's up, chat? What up, Frenchie? Also, fun fact, it's like a Lovecraftian creature. Your mind will even recognize it as real and you'll go insane.
Someone shut this place down in a hurry. Or I'd have
And just use the fish islands, just foreskin.
I've got pretty much zip inside.
It's like Cell's tail. It's like
Head back down through the outbuilding. There's a service
starts
bridge
absorbing.
that leads into the refinery.
Where am I going? I'm gonna fall down there, but there's an electric fence. And you do not whiz on the electric fence. Let me go back inside. How's it going? It's going. Had fun yesterday, trying to make this regular again now that some RL crises have been handled. And I got a lot of shit done. Now I can play on stream without feeling pressure or guilty. For now, at least. We'll see how long this lasts. I'm trying to do at least Wednesday, Thursdays again. I like having Monday as an option, and then the occasional Friday. I pistol whipped a fucking xenomorph. It's crazy. Are you my Frenchie or are you my other Frenchie? I'm so callous. I've got 5 skin. Jeez. Killing the bugs, my Colonial Marine. Yeah. Hey, what up, Squishy? Welcome back. Sorry, I missed your message. There's only one Frenchie. Who's the imposter? He's the detective from Pink Panther. Xeno bitch, more like it. Am I right? Yeah, I know, right? I'm like Xeno dorks. According to Google, there's actually like 66 million Frenchies. I said I'd be back. You did. You did say that. Welcome back. In the sequel. The game is way louder than you, chat. Still? Damn it. Hang on. Yeah, let me turn it down some more. The mixer's still open. Can you imagine, like, you can see my tabs and it's like just straight up like hentai or something. All right, where's my volume mixer? That's what I was using before. There we go. Let's put it down to like 55. 6. All right, now I need your feedback. Oh, god damn, I left it open so I can't see chat right now. All right. It's not bad. It's balanced, sorta. I'm gonna be lurking though, because I'm playing with the boys and gals on Subnautica 2. Oh, nice. Well, good shit. Thank you for the lurk. Do you stream, Squishy? Damn it. It takes like 4 attempts to get this tab open. It does not make sense. Okay, hopefully I never have to alt tab after getting this working again. What happens if I minimize this? And please? Okay, cool. Which do you prefer, big tits, big ass, or big cock? Booty shorts, stand up real quick. Big ass and big dick. Yeah. Nice. Jesus Christ. Ooh, got my gun. Pulse rifle.
Even now, I can't help but admire her, despite all she did to hold us back.
I like how Lance Reddick is shoehorned into goddamn every alien expanded media. Lance Hendrickson? I said Lance Reddick.
She showed us strength that few possess. If she had only realized the magnificence of what
Chad
she
knows
had
the answer.
sought to
No, I'm
destroy.
asking you. So aggressive, Ken. Where? Let me look over here first. I'm at full health too. But I could use this. Ah, ammo. Oh. Where they yet? Oh. Top. Nice.
No sign of Van Zandt yet, but I'll keep scanning.
Yeah, whoever made Q sprints, fuck off. Crazy. Give me more fucking ammo. Oh shit. Oh god, that's supposed to explode. Oh, I have more shotgun ammo than I thought. Game over! Game over, man! What the hell would you put as sprint? They had Q for sprint. Also, this is that weird time where they stopped making PC games and porting them to console, and they would make console games and port them to PC. Get very nice results. Shift should always be sprint. No, I agree. By default, they had some fucking dumbass shit. Okay, you are my ultra fruity Frenchie. Gotta make sure which Frenchie is which. Do you know many other Frenchies? Who's the other Frenchie?
Carl
Yeah.
showed me the
Hey, you cheating
ruins
on this
today.
Frenchie with another Frenchie?
They predate the human epoch. Neutrino and boson flares indicate technology still functioning after countless thousands of years.
Does he have bigger dick than me? The baguette. That's what we call it in these parts. Okay, just checking. Need more ammo. That'd be nice. We can say that word anymore. It's gay now. Baguette? Clearly not a fan of sandwiches. Or other. I used to have a roommate that would use day-old ones from the store to make the best French toast I've ever had. That fat fuck could throw down on the snacks, man.
The elevator controls. I've got zero access, so you'll have to bypass it on site.
God. Shotgun ammo? No. Okay, I'll just use this right now. That's what you call a gay Frenchman, right? A baguette? Oh. Yeah, I needed that last part. Logic sound. setup needed better execution.
Okay, rookie. Welcome to Hacking 101. Start the bypass, wait for it to complete, then remove the
Okay.
hack device to
I know what's gonna
finalize the
happen.
override.
I know now why you cry. I also like how aliens like future bullshit. Like everything's still all clunky and CRTs, fucking 4x3. Ah! Bitch. Ah! Ooh, I like how the
Your HUD
splashback
says your hack
hurts
tool's
me.
done.
Hack is almost done, or my hack is done? I'd lower the volume for all my viewers. Sorry, Harry was up last night. You were at Club Aqua, weren't you? I don't know what Club Aqua is. Honestly, he might have a bigger peen. The other Frenchie? What are you talking about?
The refinery control room is near the top of the elevator shaft. Scout around and get it back online. There should be a power router in the control room.
So I'm only saying because I honestly don't know.
Move it, rookie.
I feel like your
Find
mutant
a router and
ability
hook me
is
up
to
with
just know peen sizes.
Webster wasn't on duty today.
That might
Reassigned
is
to the
doing a
refinery,
lot of heavy
he said.
lifting.
But I don't believe them.
Emphasis
Not
on the
after
heavy, am I
disappearances.
right?
the refinery.
Ah, what? Damn it. Fuck, ads. Fucking subscribe. I have no sympathy. I mean, I know that sounds shitty. You can't bitch about the ads. Oh, also I haven't changed it. It's 3 minutes, yeah. I did that so that people aren't bombarded when they load in on the off chance they, you know, I did it for the chest burst scene. I forgot to turn it off. Oh, it's one of those typers.
Shatter good. Initializing. Hey, hey! I see you, rookie. Online and vitals.
Hila, where are you? Hi.
I picked up a data
Mwah.
file from the network here. Looks like the administration android found something.
They find. Oh.
Carl Bishop Wayland? Must be something pretty special down here for the man himself to take a
Did they say
personal
Carl?
interest. All right, I've got security control.
Is his first name Carl?
Keep moving through the building. I'm gonna scan for Van Zant's PDT. We'll get you to the nearest RV point, then pull you both out together.
Oh. I think I heard a predator. And his name is John Cena. I see you. Ah. Where's your buddy? Where's your buddy? Ah! Most of the tracker is above me, or in front of me, but still might be up. Get back here, coward! They beat me. It's Carl with the Q. The Q is silent. Nice. Carl. Oral.
Shit, honey, you wouldn't believe what we found. I can't say much. They read our messages home, but we're all getting the biggest fucking bonus you ever saw.
Ames
Soon as I get
I
home,
think it's Ames.
we're getting a bigger place.
Where? What? Show yourself. Reveal yourself. In the walls. Is it in the walls? It's Crystal but spelled. What the fuck? When I get home, you're finally getting that boob job to get those big sloppy knockers we always talked about. Where's that from? Hold you.
I found the Major. Verifying the schematics. Yeah, okay. Head into the main corridor. Then take a sharp right down the stairs. Follow the objective marker.
No, I'm going this way. That's where the audio logs are. Dumb bitch. Oh. I have to start my shotgun? Or a flamethrower? I don't know, man. Damn it. Don't make me choose. I have a lot of ammo for both of these. This is literally like up to 20 xenomorphs I can kill with the shotgun alone, you know? Maybe the pulse rifle? Yeah. I'll be back, my love. Is there a mod to make all the xenomorphs sound like Bubbles from Trailer Park Boys? Probably. It's very specific, so probably not, but it can be done. I'm doing the scary noise if there's nothing around.
Holy shit. Looks like you found the hive.
Woke in the hive.
Van Zant's in there.
Crouch button. I hit the window button by accident. Okay. I swear, it's like I never used a fucking keyboard before. I did forget how to crouch. What was that? Oh, I can block? How do you like your eggs? Scrambled or on fire? Probably on fire. That's how my mom used to make it. From today forth, you are Dewey. May I ask why?
Who's there? Rookie. Get over here.
Come here, rookie.
Where's the rest of your squad? Just you?
I'm right at penis height. This is convenient.
There's a Xeno in me. Shoot me, rookie.
Hurt my snake. All right, sorry, bud. Oh, I tried you in the face. Why are you still alive?
Major.
Oh wait. Whoa! That's kind of cool. Do that again. Again. Thanks,
Looking
bitch.
for the objective marker. We'll get you out of there, but the fastest way out's through the hive.
Walk in the hive. From now on, you'll be referred to by your secret name only Ken and I know, which is Pennies? What? What the fuck you talking about, boy? Where is it? I hear a face hugger, I think. You ever seen $1 Million Extreme? Is that the like Wipeout but Japanese Extreme? I think I have. I don't remember pennies though. I don't get the joke. I'm sorry. And we got like the redubbed version or some shit, right? I've seen it. I never like actively watched it. Like, oh fucking, it's on, you know. The hatch? It did. No, it's the same hide sketch. Same hide sketch that was on Adult Swim. Oh. I don't remember it. You know, it's funny. I think you sent it to me like twice. Same hide, yeah. That rings a bell. Sorry if it's still too loud. What's a happening? What's happening? Did you watch an episode of The Boys? I did. No spoilers on stream though, because it came out yesterday. You know, unless people don't care, but I did see it. We have one more episode left. Crazy. Fucking love that. Did you watch? Oh, motherfucker. Running out of stims here. Maybe I should stop and just use my shotgun. Shouty. Maybe come in the water. Yeah. That was a fun little cameo. Hey, get back in your egg, boy. You come out here. Oh shit. Oh, he's falling. Oh, that worked out. And I ran so far away. No? Oh. Uh-oh. Oh man, I didn't realize I was out. Well, that's not good. Gulp. How much protein did the facehugger egg have? Probably a fuck ton, to be honest. It's probably got like some other shit that's, you know, inedible, but I imagine it has a fuck ton of protein.
Didn't know half the guys that came down. Didn't matter much. It's got them all anyway. If you find this, do a brother Marine a favor. Get a message to my girl. Tell her I tried my best to get back home to her.
Gotta try it harder. I think I'll get away from the flamethrower. Full Serve was cooler anyway, and I can blow shit up. Jay, you still there? Did you Google Ultros for Kingsglaive yet? Cause that motherfucker's in there. Get the fuck off me! Not sure if that would hurt me or not. Oh, sorry about your baby. Sorry about baby. Trying to conserve ammunition. What the fuck? Oh shit. Yeah, what bullets are these things shooting, dude? Daddy.
I can feel it moving. There's stuff they can do to save you.
Flying at the door.
You got one inside.
The loading station is dead ahead. You should be able to see it now.
Oh. Nice. Oh shit. Maybe I should have kept the flamethrower. Wow, that's a big pussy. Google can't find how much protein, but it says if there's 60-pound eggs, I'm guessing 60 grams of protein per egg. 60-pound eggs. Well, Google doesn't know the, what actual materials are in here. We don't know. Honestly, it could be like, oh, not worth it. But I imagine it's got like a bunch of like, I don't know.
Matriarch! Nowhere to run, Rookie. You're gonna have to face that bitch. She's camped over one of the smelting furnaces. She must like the heat or something. You handle the edge while I try to get power to the control room.
Or got like cyanide or something in it. Crazy shit the body doesn't crave. Let's stay over here and just snipe.
Keep it up, Rookie. I'm almost there.
You're not the boss of me. What's moving over here? Oh, there it is. It can wait. I gotta get rid of these faceovers first. Immediate risk here. Well, if they're already open, I don't have to keep wasting. Well, infinite ammo for the handgun, so it's like I'm wasting, but you know what I'm saying. Put aim to the pistol? Hell yeah.
Get to the lever, Rookie.
Yeah, wait. Oh, it's like Resident Evil. The accuracy improves if I don't fucking spam gunshots. Wait, bitch. No. Sorry, Tequila, I didn't mean to cuss at you. Just wait, baby. Okay, I thought so. Oh, I know. Where is it? Oh! Oh shit! No. Motherfucker. Google says the facehugger has keratin, flagyrin, protease, enzymes, defensive lipids in it. Yeah, it sounds like something I don't want in my body.
Shit! Didn't work! Damn! Hold on! I'll need to reset it for another blast. They're glowing! Shoot 'em, rookie! Blow that bitch to hell!
What now?
Almost ready!
Hurry up, bitch.
Pull the lever again! Burn the place!
I'm going. Nice. Sorry. I kind of want to play the classic. Oh shit! ABPs also. I don't know, I want to play every fucking game known to man. Seems.
Refinery West exit sealed. Lockdown in place.
Oh! Predator time. Oh, nice. Oh, fuck.
You reading me, rookie? I thought I'd lost you back there. I'm riding shotgun in the Typhoon. I can't get a lock on your location. This jungle's dense, but we'll find you. Get to a transmitter tower. Power it up and stay nearby. We'll zero in on
Just checking.
Get some of this, you jungle Xeno bastard!
You ugly mother.
Spit at me, will you?
No one knows what the hell's going on or where these things came from. I'm trying to restore power here to increase our chances. 5 will get you 10, those assholes dug up something they shouldn't have.
Wait, it's up here, right? Okay, yeah. Damn, whoever animated that camera on stairs needs to get their shit together. Hey, what's up? Also, what is this? Oh, it's a sniper rifle. Oh, shit. Tight. Sorry you died. I didn't mean to startle you and get you killed like a dum-dum.
West exit open.
How much shotgun ammo do I have? Oh, it's a flamethrower? No, get the fuck out of here. Take my shot. Oh, it's my sniper. I'll leave the flamethrower behind. That's fine.
Jungle infested with xenomorphs, but unable to locate their nest. Reports of some new kind of xeno we haven't seen. Faster, stronger, more dangerous. That way. Where's Van Sant to reinforce us?
Bronzer.
Mr. Wayland is convinced we shall find xenomorph remains somewhere within the pyramid's heart. What drives this conviction, I'm not sure. But I get the feeling that Carl knows more than I'm aware.
Oh, it still got me. Fucker. Just cause. Yes. More. Look at that one. That one's not hatched. Wonder if I could penetrate. No. They got like, it's like clam oyster, you know, like that goopy goop. Oh, Zara, thank you for the raid, man. How was your stream? What were you playing? More Dead by Daylight, my brother? What up, Z's? How you doing? Aziz, light! Shout out. Thanks, bruh. How's everybody doing? Everybody follow Zara, or I'll be mad. Back again.
We just want the good.
Yeah, Dead by Daylight today? Hell yeah,
man. Good insults, and then we think, hey, Zara, I bet you have.
Did I kill it? I think I killed it.
With me.
Okay.
I mean,
how you doing?
He's not wrong.
Yeah, I haven't played Marvel Rivals in so long. Cyclops looks dope, so I might come back just to try it out a little bit. Oh, my maid outfit? Oh, you are wearing a maid outfit there. Nice. King Dingaling.
Okay.
Oh, what up, Travi? Man, I've lost weight since then. It's good. I just unfollowed Zara because you can't tell me what to do. Alright, everybody, unfollow Jay also. I reported him for hate speech. Here you go. If you guys want a good account to report for hate speech, then that guy, that piece of shit right there.
Oh, is it just a werewolf?
What are you playing? Oh, he's playing all the Final Fantasies, which is awesome. And then you're gonna return to Shin Megami Tensei. He's also a big Monster Hunter fan, and he played almost every Castlevania on stream. But don't follow him. Wink.
It just destroyed him immediately. That, yeah, Maria
69 Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse. Fuck him. Hey, what up, Deadwolf? Here, fucking, you get a shout out. You get a shout out. He's my best friend. Give him a follow. That's an order. God damn it. Wait, hold to interact. This might be around Jay's, Tibby's. Doesn't mean I use hate speech.
Signal received. Move into your location.
Oh, Deadwolf, what are you up to?
Flying off your position. 5, 4, 3,
Uh-oh.
2. Look up, Ricky.
Yeah, it's my ride.
That
Get
ride.
me the fuck out of here. Battle frames.
We are taking fire.
What's that?
We are taking fire. Can't see the shooter. Who's fucking firing down there?
Battle frames. That's not the Beast Wars one that you and Blade were playing one time, was it?
We're hit! Mayday! Going down! Great!
No, they're just stranded like me now. Escape the swamp. Get out of my swamp. This way? That's gotta be... Where are you telling me to go? That could look like Jay was an extra for American History and he did it for free. Yeah, a little bit. Our boy. He was Ethan, what's his face? His stunt double. I did it for my country. He likes aliens nuts on his face.
He likes aliens nuts on his face.
I think he just likes nuts. Be anybody's nut on his face. If my nut, your nut, everybody's nut. Start copping for the love of the game. Dude, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, oh! It's like, fuck. Fuck that dude up. Shotgun. I thought this was a shotgun. I used a sniper. Oh, it's okay. I still have full health. Oh. My child brain was like, bro, I never hated somebody enough to do that, bro, for real. Xenomorphs are fucking dope, little dickheads. But now, we should set up a private server and I'll play the multiplayer in this. Is it still active? Like, can we? Does that be down? The multiplayer here was pretty solid. I liked that infestation mode. Where you die as a Marine, then you come back as an alien, then you overwhelm the survivors. Can't flank me. Motion tracker, bitch. I don't know, there gotta be some kind of mod. I'm sure somebody figured it out. That would be kind of cool. What happens when you do multiplayer? Does it tell you to back off? Started a private server and named it Cosby. Bill Cosby? Nice. I don't know. Like, I don't think there are servers anymore, so we would have to use like Parsec? I'm not entirely sure on how to set that up. It could still be active, just not populated. I don't know. I'll look into it.
Private? Private, you don't know me, but I have a proposal for you. If you help me, I will get you to your friends. My name is Katya. I am...
Katya.
I was the designated administrator for this colony. It is imperative that I retrieve the data contained within the main building up ahead. I need you to find the power node and use it to bring the servers in the control room back online. Take the power node to the control room. I've marked it on your HUD.
Thanks, babe. Oh. Ah! Wait. Wait, what? No, wait. What? I can't put this motherfucker down? Wait, don't touch me, 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 don't touch me.
Move upstairs and bring the network online.
Pinche puta tu madre. Yeah, honestly, shotgun and repulse rifle, right meow at least. Let me check that other building too. I want to make sure that oh, that's probably overkill. Wayland.
I remember all those centuries ago, a tiny jumping spider, smaller than a lentil. It turned and watched me. I wonder.
Yeah, I want some ammos.
What's going through your mind?
In your wallet.
With some dread, I suspect the xenomorphs ask themselves.
Xeno. I say xenomorphs. Do you guys say xenomorph? Technically, I think it is Xeno. I don't remember hearing xenomorph in the movie. Like, the only time I can think it's being mentioned is Apone, which is basically Avery Johnson from Halo. I think he says xenomorph. I don't know. Time to do another marathon.
Returning to the matriarch's chamber.
Actually, I could put alien on it now.
Sense of humble
set the mood. Light some candles, you know.
An intelligence captive, yet aware for tens of thousands of years. How can mortal man conceive of such eon-spanning resilience?
This might be thorough. I gotta find all the audio logs and all the ammo. I think we're okay. Fuck, hold on, my back itches. Let me come scratch my back. I keep knocking the earbud out of my ear. Alright. Let's go. Also, I literally have a flashlight. Why does it... I guess I can illuminate a whole room this way. Okay. There's also torches. And I'm like, why? Or, flares. Wow, what? Also, we're in, like, the future. Why do these flares last 1, Mississippi 2, Mississippi 3, Mississippi 4, oh, I see you, 5, 6, 7 seconds? Sorry. Clever girl. Jay, get back here. I had a question for you.
I have been born of such delicate material. I need to evolve, to become as irrepressible as you. Imagine what I might become. Your biology wedded to hunter technology. A new paradigm in the universe.
What's your playing Division 2? Oh, no, I was asking if you ever Googled Ultros in Kingsglaive. And also, I brought it up before, and this is for a question for Deadwolf as well. Do I know it will be down? Oh, damn. When the time is right in your Final Fantasy Marathon, we should play Crystal Chronicles.
I have access to files I need.
I saw. I said it before, but you can set it up with Parsec, so we can connect our emulators, and you can use MGBA to simulate the Game Boy Advance control, which is the only way to do the multiplayer on that properly. You can still use a controller, but it's a thing to set up. And then I know for years Deadwolf has been trying to get me to play Crystal Chronicles with them. So it could be like a new, kind of like what we were doing, Resident Evil Outbreak nights. We could do Crystal Chronicles nights. That might be fun. I guess I'm leaving. Dude, I gotta get Division. Looks fun. I think Deadwolf and Lemon Wedges were playing that for a while too. Back when we were like roommates when the shit came out. Oh! Plasma caster. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Evade hostiles and escape? No, I want to kill him. I'm not evading shit. And the cowards run.
I don't know what that creature is. Please leave.
The Yautja.
It's gone. But be careful. I need you.
Oh, I need you too.
The data you have given me, it concerns Carl, Bishop Wayland, one of the directors of the Wayland-Yutani Corporation.
This is Carl with a K.
Mr. Wayland has always had a secret agenda here. It was only recently that I learned of its true extent. There is movement ahead. I will allow you to concentrate. Please, stay safe.
Now for Crystal Chronicles. Hell yeah, brother. I'll set up a test locally. Then maybe we can have like a Discord powwow and we'll get everybody set up. Swallow it. Swallow it. Swallow. Swallows a lot. I don't know, whatever it is, I want it now. Okay, catch. Ultra ball. Yeah. Wait, why do I have the clapper? What does that mean? Slate? Is that what they call those? Hidden. Oh, no. Sword of Sopa. Someone said Mod Crystal Chronicles. We can play the original online. Yes. So what happens is there's Dolphin, which is the GameCube emulator, and then you can actually connect that with MGBA, which is a Game Boy Advance emulator, and then we can use another thing called Parsec, to where someone hosts and everybody else can remote in and play. So it'll simulate couch co-op online. You know what I mean? So I was saying, because remember when we were playing Resident Evil Outbreak, and I don't want to play Crystal Chronicles without you, and Jay's doing a marathon, so it'd be kind of cool if whenever in his marathon he gets to that point, which I think it's before 10, right? Or is it? It's after 10 and maybe 10 too. Got a while, but or maybe we don't have to wait for him. We just force him to do it at night. But yeah, we can all play online. Maybe me, you. I think Cyber say he was down, and then how about you simulate these nuts on your chin? I mean, there's that too. I don't know if that's a Parsec feature, but it could be fun. But yeah, I wanna play online. We'll have to find a good day because I know I stream late. Maybe it could be like a once or twice a week thing. Spitting her pussy. What button is that? Hey, they did the noise. I love that fucking elephant scream that they do. H. H is to heal. Maybe I remapped it by accident. H is to hump. H is for hawk to. Now you gotta hold. It's control HT. How you doing, Deadwolf? You having a good night, my boy? I want to see Mortal Kombat again. I'm okay. I could deal with okay. I wish you were fan-fucking-tastic, though. I want my boy to be high on life. Shit on that thing! Oh, whoa, whoa!
That was a combat android. They are illegal.
Fucking Carl.
There are more ahead. Aim for the limbs. Their bodies are more heavily armored.
Hey, shotgun.
The tunnel has collapsed.
They're like xenomorphs.
We have suffered greatly.
Or not xenomorphs, necromorphs. Oh shit!
Look for a way past the debris.
Expect that. Oh, speaking of, dude, I should do Dead Space. Or I can finally do Onimusha. I don't know. The world's my oyster right now. Onimusha was the plan. Maybe I'll do that. Cause I need a Grandia break. You should do Dead Space. I could. Maybe I'll alternate. I'll do a Dead Space and then I'll do Onimusha.
You're through, Private. The Marine dropship went down beyond these caves.
No.
The geologists say those caves below the refinery run deep.
He's right.
Got drunk one night with one of them. He said some of the tunnels there weren't natural. And he didn't mean man-made.
Wait, why does my inventory shuffle? I literally just walked into a cave. I like my inventory completely reset. Not make sense. But I will probably do, honestly, the sniper rifle fucks. I might keep this for a while. Yeah, I can do Onimusha. I have the remaster, and what I might do actually is, because I have that on PS4. But what I might do is buy the remaster on Steam and then mod it to have the OG soundtrack, because that still pisses me off. It's a good soundtrack they replaced it with, but the original. What happened? I don't have full health.
You're through, Private.
But the original one's better.
Went down beyond
If you do Onimusha first, I'm planting crack in your car. Joke's on you, there's already crack in my car. That's why I rarely stream on Friday. I call it Freebase Fridays. Burn button. What was it that happened? Music guy was a pedo or something? No! At least that's news to me. I know the big thing was he was actually that guy that I think he scored most of Resident Evils and stuff. Call it Kurt Cobain Fridays. No, I was gonna make a joke. But anyway, he was a fraud. Turns out he had a ghostwriter, so he didn't compose it. I think he ghost wrote everything from his career. So somebody that we don't know, I think, did the music for like Resident Evil and all that shit. Onimusha music replacement. Let's see what it says. Due to legal and ethical issues regarding its original composer, Mamoru Samuragochi, who was revealed to be a fraud. Yeah, because he claimed to be, they call him like the Japanese, like Mozart or Beethoven or something, because he was deaf, but it turns out he wasn't deaf, and yeah, he didn't compose anything. So that's what it is. So they didn't want to credit him. And I think, let's see. Yeah, Capcom replaced the music because the original composer for the 2001 release, hailed as the Japanese Beethoven, was discovered to have been hired a ghostwriter and was not actually deaf. Oh, and then the 2019 remaster replaced the original music and removed the licensed ending song Russian Roulette by Tomoyasu Hote. So he's a fraud on 2 counts? Yeah. He's not deaf, and he didn't fucking compose anything. Which is pretty funny. I don't know. That's funny to me. Is the sniper? Okay, it is. By yourself. I like how the HUD has like that glitchy hologram shit. They couldn't just create the real writer. I don't think they know who the real writer is, so they can't. I could be wrong, but I actually think that nobody knows who actually composed all those games. I'm not sure if he's been revealed or not. I could be wrong. I might be, actually, but my understanding is that... I don't know. You'd think they would just cross his name off and put the real person or something. Imagine being him and pretend to be deaf everywhere you go. Right? Or like,
Well, they sure found something.
oh shit, what's his name?
Suddenly we had company suits all over the place.
Oh fuck, who's the blind R&B
Wayland
singer?
was here.
One who's not blind. There's a lot of evidence that, what the fuck's his name?
Man, those things creep me out.
Stevie Wonder. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that Stevie Wonder is not blind. And I hope that's true.
That way. Dino's got her.
Oh. Still. Where is it? Where are you? He said he wasn't blind, he's partially blind, not fully. Oh, I don't remember him ever saying that. That's, I mean... But you gotta admit, it was definitely part of his shtick. I'm not sure him being partially blind is common knowledge, is it? Oh, I don't know if I can climb that, but yeah, I wasn't aware if that was revealed or not. Canonically, I just seen a bunch of celebs being like, he ain't blind. And then I've seen, I think my favorite one, now we're talking about Ray Charles, that's different, yeah, that was blind. But, there's a video of Stevie Wonder singing on stage with a bunch of people, and he has his own mic. And I forget how or why, but the mic's about to fall over, he catches it and pulls it back in. And I'm like,
Groves hasn't given us much time before the
I
science
think
team
it's
start
Fuchs, by
trying
the way.
to access the
Auto
data
Diaries?
stored here.
It's right, Fuchs, but
It's a
Fuchs.
tomb, built by the hunters to honor a great king or warrior lord of their race. The things we can learn about them just from this room.
Where you going? I looked at my cat. Bitch, you got me all turned around now. Maybe they spray perfume or something on the mic and he caught it like how Daredevil can catch things. I don't think it's how it works, but to imagine. Wait, where do I go? Okay, oh yeah, I picked that up and then I guess I go this way. This game's kind of short and sweet because I think I'm actually approaching the last mission or two.
May have stationed androids near.
Hey, Fox is back.
The whole corridor.
Imagine a sight works like a bat. Wait, how does bat sight work? Because if you're talking about echolocation, that's not sight. Sonar. Yeah, that's not sight. That's perception. But yeah, sorry. Actually. Hack in progress. Oh, I see you. Bring it on, motherfucker. Fight me. Bigger problem with Stevie Wonder is that his music's bad. Damn, bro. Oh, man, I'm not like a big fan, but I wouldn't say it's bad. I would. Yeah, of course you would. Your favorite artist is Bowie, right? Are you still alive? Whoa, what the fuck? Holy shit, what kind of gun is that? I get him? David Bowie? Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll switch out pulse rifle. Bitch. Oh, what the f- oh, okay. Hardly. Machine. The Aliens universe is so fun, though, you know? That was a waste. That's fine, look cool. Who wins in a fight, Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles? Both are alive. Well, I would say Stevie Wonder has the advantage because he's not blind. Still gonna stick to that. Probably Stevie. I think he's a bigger person. Like, he's fatter and taller, I think, so that does count. Ray Charles made actually good music, so I hope he wins. Yeah, I do prefer Ray Charles over Stevie Wonder.
You may need to climb out of there.
We need to shut up.
My requests
Why do
for
I
more excavation
not eat dinner?
personnel have met with
You know what I mean?
limited success. Wayland's
I need to get my
operations get
schedule back in
priority.
check. Not my sleep schedule. That's actually been phenomenal
If it
lately.
isn't about his precious pyramid or Rogue's pet monsters, he just isn't
Need to
interested.
make more time for the gym again. Need to start cooking again more. I mean, I still cook, but I was cooking every meal for a while. Need to get back on that. You may need to climb. Where's Tequila?
Rookie? How the hell did you get here?
Fantastic timing, Private. Bugs,
Hey, yo, Mr. White,
androids,
it's time to
invisible
cook.
Snipers.
Nice.
Welcome to the fucking Corps.
Hoorah! And the smart gun is fucking hot.
Incoming.
Be careful.
Don't let your guard down.
Ah, that's hot. Ah, that's hot. Oh.
Don't relax. Watch that
You guys shooting? The enemies are always down. These are facing the wrong direction. Fucking morons. You want to get killed by xenomorphs? Because this is how you get killed by xenomorphs. Oh.
Don't let your guard down.
Secret cat. My guard's almost always down. Where?
You hear that?
Do I need to go anywhere or am I just holding my ground? Survive until the bypass. Find the crash dropship. It's an accident.
Ready.
It was an accident. Oh shit! Accident.
Don't let your guard down.
Don't repeat your lines. Record more lines. Don't let your guard down. Oh, I can't run with this? The audio log? Oh. Oh, behind me too. Where? Oh!
Don't relax just yet,
That's the music when they're trying to run to the ship. The thing is what they wanted to use here. They didn't. It's fucking. Go, Mr. White. Where'd the other guy go? So where'd the other guy? I think the game wants me to switch my weapons out now. Alright, alright. It was fun. See you in Valhalla, brother. It's full health. Okay, where's my shotgun though? I want a shotty. Good thing that happened during that break. I'm actually gonna keep it for now. Oh. No, they killed him. Where'd I fall? Nice. I don't see the dancing Leon too often anymore. Well, given I don't stream anymore. But that's like my favorite one that I have. Oh, then I put Dancing Jill in there. You should use that one. I did it for you. There she is. He said remake Jill is your RE waifu, right? Solid choice. Best girl? That's what you said, yeah, best girl. I still like I do like hold on, I can clear
Hey, need a hand?
From remake. But let's see I think I'm always gonna lean Sheva. And that brown sugar.
Bugs attacked us when we crashed. We dragged Tequila away before we could stop them.
Tequila?
Marines were
Let's go
supposed to
save
hold
her.
here while we scouted for her.
I need an emoji of remake. Drilling? I could do that. I could do that.
See you when you got to.
I should make note of that. That'd be funny.
Let's go find
just like. Actually, well, I'd rather do that than the fucking working Pikachu. I still have a lot of this ammo. Maybe it's not gonna lock me out, is it? Ah, shit, it might actually. All right. This. Oh, sniper. Actually, I'd rather have the shotgun and the pulse rifle. Name a better duo. Oh shit. Nice.
Ah, shit! Where'd it go?
You were on the job. You can stop getting trophies, bro. That was one of the big complaints that I do agree with. I mean, a few more things, but Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. So, Wolf, I think is what that one's name is. He's there to clean up, right? Stop all evidence of alien life. And what's the first thing he fucking does? He skins like 6 humans.
That movement?
It's like, bro, you turn off your hobby. You're leaving evidence of alien life, the thing you're there to clean.
Hear that?
Get some hawk tuas. Wait, more aliens over here? You fighting, dude?
You hear that?
I do. Oh shit. Well, we've been outnumbered. And to be fair, in that little skirmish, it was 1v1, so... Or 2v2, so I would say we're outnumbered. Banner.
We keep on uncovering xenomorph images among
David
these
Banner.
ruins.
Okay, bud. It's you and me versus the bugs. Let's roll.
Stay frosty. I should have kept the sniper rifle.
Hear that?
Here, I see it.
Don't let your guard down.
You hear that?
Yes, bro. Stop fucking repeating the same lines. Annoying me. There they are.
Still got the feeling.
No, hang on. There's more over here. I know it. So there's, yeah. What's over here? You hear that? We're outnumbered. Hear that? Don't let your guard down. It's the joke. Godzilla's attacking a generator. The reactor. I should have bought that game when I had the chance.
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Also, I like how in all of these games, playing as a Marine is a horror movie, like it should be, you know? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Tight.
We got this, man. Get me.
Hold on, I'm stuck. Oh. You still playing Division over there?
Don't let your guard down.
Playing with Dry and Paul? Oh, what the fuck?
Shit, man.
Stopped.
We're
Nice.
screwed.
Paul and Dry left. Ruh-roh.
You hear that?
Don't relax just yet, Marines.
Keep your butthole clenched, Marine. Hear that? You're outnumbered. I want your guard down. Wait. No! No! After all we've been through together.
I'm sorry, Private. You are alone.
Don't say.
It looks like Wayland's scientists were
He's only 2 days away from retirement. Exactly.
another door override somewhere nearby.
Acnea? Fuck. I miss cyber. Come back to me, baby.
Excellent, Private. You made it through. I can't establish a link to the systems at that site. The corporation kept its existence secret from me. Have a look in that cabin to see if there's anything that can help you.
I was probably busy breeding horse girls. Yeah, probably. He streamed a bit today. Yeah, I saw it, but it was over by the time I was able to join. And was it more horse girl game or was it more Rocket League? 2 games I don't care about. I mean, it's all about the streamer at the end of the day, but I don't know. I miss when he played good games. The fuck? Oh. Good games. We're gonna do that here. Good games?
Some things happened at the lab.
Try the cabin, Private.
Oh, what's back here, though? Oh, it's like the Terminator. He will not stop. This is an unstoppable killing machine, and the moment it gets you, it just throws you around a little bit. But everybody else, it just punches through. You know? I always hated that. Plot armor. Oh boy.
Be careful.
Wait, is there 2 of them? Want some candy? Want some candy? Where you at? Oh shit! Where is he? Oh, back to camo, cheater. That whore.
The creature seems to heal itself.
Cheating bitch. I'm not falling for that. Over here? Oh shit. Double tap. Now you gotta do that. And then detonate.
I'm surprised, but pleasantly so. The cabin.
If Predator scanned me like in the AVP movies, I'd light up like an outline of the hurt person on the back pain commercial. He'd pass, but I'm not worthy to hunt.
Go and check.
I mean, I think I'll kill anybody with a weapon.
There might be maps to suggest where your friend was taken.
Then yeah, I'll look at you like your blood pressure and be like, oh, nah.
When that creature died.
Just give him like a year. You don't remember the AVP movies when he scanned away? No, I remember. I remember. If he scanned me, I'd probably like spin kick his head and dab on his unconscious body. No, I know what you're saying. He would scan to like see your health and stuff. Or whatever, because he scanned Waylon, if that's what you're trying to say. And yeah, he saw like he has like lung cancer or some shit, and he's like, you're fine. And then he's like, don't turn your back on me. And then he did the fucking aerosol lighter trick. If you scan you, it's too short to hunt. Yeah, I wouldn't qualify. I'd be like a short king, like Deck in Badlands. Which is a good fucking movie. I just wish it was rated R. You need a little more gore from me, but that was a cool ass movie. It's like a Predator anime. Oh, and the Predator animated movie was pretty awesome too. Honestly, most of Dan Trachtenberg's stuff is solid.
Their hive mind, so vast, so ancient. Can it be that their consciousness, on some level, spans their entire domain?
Yeah, I think I'm good with this. Shotgun, sniper. Honestly, I like the sniper more than the pulse rifle. Pulse rifle sounds cool though. Hunter of Hunters is absolute cinema. It was fucking dope.
Thank you. I'm online. I'm accessing their equipment. Wait. There's a marine signal nearby. It must be your friend. She's alive.
Tequila!
I have unlocked the door.
Nice. Hey, what up, DJ? What do I do? Oh, this way. I'm coming, Tequila! I survived! Yeah, dude, status update. Report. I watched The Predator with Key in it. It was bad, but I still liked it. Yeah, that is a bad movie. I like the action. That's literally it. The autism plotline is insane. Half the cast is annoying. The writing, I don't know. Like, I like Shane Black, but like, not everybody needs to be the fucking jokester, you know?
I've been studying
It's exhausting.
I've been studying xenomorph images for months.
And then they conveniently like lobotomized the Predator dog or whatever that thing is. Oh shit! Yeah, that was the Predator. Hey. What? Oh, hey. Sorry, dude. That was me yesterday. Thank you for the sub, bro. How you doing? How you doing? Oh shit, I might actually die right now. Hang on. Wait, is it the train? What was that? Every 3 months, you take my money now. Get your sub bill. Oh, thanks, bro. Nice. Appreciate that. Here.
Let's make this to 35.
I'm alright, just hanging in there.
As long as I
yeah,
get
dude, did you have your procedure done yet? I can't eat food anymore? For how long? I'm sure you have to eat at some point, right? Are you like on a strict diet or something?
Yo, somebody clip that. Somebody clip that and send that to me.
You son of a bitch!
What thing is that? Oh, that's Red Dead Revolver.
I'm here!
Okay.
Tequila.
Find me.
I'm here, baby. I'm here. Daddy's here, Tequila.
I'm gonna get you!
Chat is on a come only diet. Yeah. It's true. I still gained weight because I'm eating so much of it.
Put a bullet in my head.
No. Wait.
Tequila. Tequila, no.
If you can get the corporal to me,
Tequila,
I
not
might
like this.
be able to remove the parasite.
Oh damn,
Who's
did I
that?
lose it?
One of
Mod
the
status?
colonists?
I might have done it by accident. Here, I got you, bud. Here you go.
I am an ally. I can help.
Sounds good to me.
Tequila, I will save you. Come here, baby. Another chance. Tequila's tied up. No. I'm gonna get this parasite out of her and then put another one in her. Nigga almost dies on the operating table. Who's my mod? Yeah, dude, a fucking update. I just haven't heard from you in like forever. How you doing? How you feeling? You okay?
We
You
came
alive?
down out there and got
Well, you're
jumped by
alive,
a whole
clearly,
lot of
bud.
bugs. There was one big motherfucker, like twice the size of the others.
Who's
That
it
thing
also?
could really scream. I never heard anything like it.
I lost over 40 pounds since the operation. Dang. I should get surgery too then. But, and you can't eat food anymore, wounds healing. So, when you say you can't eat food anymore, I mean, how long? Realistically, like, what's the actual prognosis? Unless you're not comfortable saying it, because I am curious. Like, are you gonna be like on a liquid diet for the rest of your life or something?
Guess you were born to do it, huh?
Like how everyone dies almost right away from face huggers, but Tequila magically doesn't? Oh, she doesn't. No, there's hours that pass with the chest burst stuff. Tequila just hasn't fully gestated yet. I like how everyone soft food diet starts on Monday and my body hates it. That sucks, man. Well, how long until you can? Well, it's soft food, so it's like mashed potatoes and shit, and macaroni, right? Maybe some meatloaf. Dude, I can go for some meatloaf right now. I will do anything for love.
I don't know how much longer the corporal has before the parasite emerges.
We're moving, all right? And it's Tequila. You can call me Tequila.
Tequila. Tequila. Bounce on it. Meatloaf is just a burger in bread form.
On your heads up display.
Rookie. Does she
I
always throw
actually like that
aim
one. Mashed potatoes, eggs, oatmeal, etc. And my stomach is like, nah, Nick, we gonna throw up. Ah. So you just have to get used to it again, huh? So just take it slow, bud. We'll be back to eating dick in no time. But I'm glad everything went well. This is regarding your that problem, fluid, right? You were telling me about. Whoa! The fuck off me! Damn it. Actually, I'm gonna go pee real quick. My balls are still huge. No, this was the gastric sleeve operation. Yeah, dude. I was able to eat 2 slices of American cheese like an autistic child, not throw up. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that. Dang, I thought this was for the ball fluid issue. So what's that like? You gonna work on that? Hold on, let me go pee. Speaking of balls, pee stored in the balls.
Super sleepy playing GTA 3.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. Come through. Oh shit! My toe. In my pants. Chat, look, butthole's out.
Where? Bro, I'm a fail. Am I going the right way? Wait, no, I can't go up. Why can't I look up and go there? I'm trying. Don't you dare fail me, game. Don't you fucking dare fail me. This is on you, not me.
Did you kill Enrico?
Really?
Yeah, like this.
Rebecca, no.
Chris, I have something to show you. Now, walk.
It's only 2 days from retirement. Stars. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Oh, fuck. Damn, bro. You okay, Carlos? Is your oil okay? I like the sound of that. Oh, he's fucked up. He's like bugging right now.
It's called scrotal edema, and it's happening because of all the liquid being pushed down from the abdominal operation. Will the one that happened? Okay, so will the surgery that you just got, will that
That's funny.
help? Like, is that part of the source of the fluid?
Gang. These nuts, gang.
You plugged it up? Oh, oops.
Sucks about a shotgun ammo, but there'll be more, you know? Wait, what the fuck?
I barely know you, but...
Kila, where are you? Here you are, baby. Oh shit, there's a lot of them. Hold on. I'm gonna get the motion tracker.
Swapping out.
Which is fine. I would say this game is a little on the easier side, so a little too late to get tough now. But now the gastric sleeve was Operation 2, so they just got bigger again. Damn. I'm sorry, bro. I mean, I'm sure there's like a sequence of events to recovery here, right? Like, hopefully what they're doing now will lead to an operation that will stop. You should get that vest that when you take damage in the game, you feel it IRL. Oh, that actually would be kind of cool. 4 to 6 weeks, then they will go down. Okay, okay.
Ranking Marine clearance.
Are you back to streaming?
Sometime, right?
Everybody, you should follow DJ. He's actually really entertaining, and he does a lot of charity streams, which I respect. Tequila, sit on my face, quick. I like how these end with just no fanfare. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna try to finish the Marine campaign today, and then maybe Predator next, and then I'll begin the Onimusha streams.
Okay, we're nearly there. Research lab is through that archway. Let's move.
I stream Revivalist Saturday. I want to bug you to help, but I know you a busy boy. I am, and Saturday's pretty short notice, but I'm curious on what you would need.
Whoa. The size of this place. No wonder they kept the colonists
I did
so
the worst
far away.
thingy ever. Did you kill a man?
I guess this is where the trouble started.
Did you delete everything? That would suck. Stay down. Actually, kinda. Ooh, why would you do that? It sucks. I can, if there's assets that I gave you... Oh, or do you need, like the codes and stuff that I did for Stream Elements? That should still be tied to your account. Have your roommate revert my PC to Windows 10. Why Windows 10? That sucks, bro. So all your OBS stuff is reset.
I must admit I'm surprised to see you here. Our hunter friends must be losing their edge. Or perhaps luck has been on your side.
Tequila.
My name is Carl Bishop Whalen, and this is my
Because we to make it
facility.
better.
All you have to do is leave, and I give you
massive
my
issues
word.
with streaming software and games,
pursuit.
etc. She would randomly crash and restart my PC, so I said, fuck
not
it.
by any
Nothing's
of my
messed up
verses now.
Well, that's good. Oh yeah, I was saying I was
Shit,
having
can you
some
believe
major
this guy?
issues on my computer as
He's
well.
gotta pay for this.
So I do a lot of After Effects and like Photoshop and stuff, right? And turns out that somehow at some point, I think it was when I was doing the Sonic alerts and overlay, that I ended up installing a corrupted font. So it was actually bogging down my whole system. And I was dealing with After Effects crashing, which was pissing me off. But yeah, I looked into it. I just deleted everything that wasn't like stock, and it's working now. And my computer is flying, which for the most part, I'm exaggerating, but it was awful. I looked into it too. So yeah, apparently based on what software is running, it will run, I guess, a scan of the fonts, and if one of them's fucked up, it'll like, create like a memory leak. I think I was dealing with that. I would open Streamlabs and then open Discord, that my PC would blue screen. Ooh.
All of it.
The terrifying blue screen of death.
I concur. But I must stabilize you first.
Well, I'm glad it's running now.
No arguments. But if I'm gonna burst, then get me nice and close to that fucker.
Stay calm. High stress levels will...
Through you, we're beginning to understand the complexity of your hive structure. Your hierarchy is as adaptive as your biology.
I think I ruined my lifetime warranty with Meta PC, so LOL. Well, it's a lifetime because it's not Windows 11 anymore. Oh man. Well, can you reinstall Windows 11?
Whatever you say, sweetheart.
Or you can get really dorky and install Linux like Jay did.
This bug's really messing
That's clearly
with
the
my
only way
guts.
to get the chest burster out is for it to take some back shots. I mean, it's only logical. It only makes sense, you know. I'm sure she'd be like, yeah, that checks out. Get in there. I'd be like, gladly. Tequila, what are you doing after this? I'd rather two kids.
Hold it.
I'd rather two kids, one sandbox myself. I'm not sure I understand that reference.
Getting movement. Sporadic readings. Down there, a Xeno. Guess Whalen's droids didn't get him all yet.
Security is our key stop. All personal belongings will be returned on completion of
You want to see two
contract.
kids, one sandbox? No.
All personal transmissions will be delayed for screening.
What the fuck you talking
All
about?
portable data storage devices are strictly prohibited. Our secrets are our most precious commodity.
She's probably like, after this, I'm fading into darkness when the game closes. Yeah, probably. She gets uninstantiated as the
Security is our key stop.
the game process.
All personal belongings will be returned on completion of contract. All personal transmissions will be delayed for screening. All portable data storage devices are strictly prohibited. Our secrets are our most precious commodity.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. I'm scared. I don't know what to expect. Is it like a 2 girls 1 cup kind of thing?
Heads up. Combat androids. No way around, Private. We're gonna have to nail those droids.
I'd rather nail you. Where'd they go? Ooh, train. Oh shit! I have like no cover. Give me your gun. Oh, I do have a scoped one. What? That's what I was using. I meant, wait, what the fuck? There's other humans here? Wait, okay. In this game? Yeah. There's humans but also these guys were synths. Guy and girl at playground, and she puts a mini bullet in his schmeat hole, and the camera is zoomed in all the way. What the fuck? What the fuck? Where can I find this so I know to avoid it? Asking for a friend. Bet you there's yeah.
Such provenance.
Listen, high school was wild. Yeah. Oh, damn it. Oh, it is glass. Okay. Actually, hold on. That was a shotgun. I want the shotgun. Pink. But what do you have to that, dude? Just chilling?
I think that was the last one.
This game is lacking puns, like when you go grab it, it should have said, I call shotgun. That actually would be a cool line. I might steal that.
Right. I must attend to the corporal as soon as possible.
It's pretty good. That way? Okay, what's over here?
Time is the key factor to profitability. Planning, projecting, and meeting deadlines.
Time for some tequila shots. Starts with us.
Keep your eye on the goal and the company's financial viability. Our success creates your wealth. Here at Wayland time is the key factor to profitability.
Gotcha,
Planning,
baby.
projecting, and meeting deadlines.
Shit! Reboot from that motherfucker.
Dodge this.
This is getting tiresome. My security teams are trying to contain the xenomorphs. Any interference will aid in the release of these dangerous
Nobody
creatures.
says xenomorph though. I say xenomorph.
Let's not get involved in an internecine struggle. Listen to reason. Retreat from this facility and await rescue.
Pull enemies.
This is your last chance.
He's pretty impressed with himself, huh?
Yeah, that's our boy Waylon for us. Oh. Stop motion. It's Xeno for sure.
Come on, I'm hurting you.
Why? Because like I said, the only other time I can think about it being actually named in the movies is Aliens. And I swear Apone says Xenomorph. But I was always like, nah, it's just some idiot reading a script wrong or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's like, is it like a colloquial Xeno, or is it canonically Xeno? I don't even know anymore. Oh! That was a good little jump scare.
Looks like they're well contained. Come on, let's keep moving.
It's Xenomorph, since he had English accent. But it's an X, so that rule doesn't apply. Nice joke though. That only rhymes with the Z letter, not the actual sound. These nuts will xenomorph on your chin. Nice.
Get the corporal into surgery. Get her strapped onto the table.
My pelvis gonna face hug your mouth. I don't know. It was not a nice joke. Bad, you boy. Okay, baby? Lay down. I got you.
We are on emergency power here, so I am going to try
Daddy's
to
here.
divert from Wayland Station at the pyramid. We are ready.
We're gonna get through this.
Just pray nobody knows.
No, I'm gonna get through you later.
Katya, I should have known. These operations are vital to Weyland-Yutani's interests. Any attempt to compromise them is an act of sabotage, as per company directives.
Come on. Come on.
Lay down, baby.
I knew you were a mistake, Katya. A faulty product line.
Hand growth?
Whatever you're doing there now, I'm shutting it down.
I went to look for it, and I think I'm on a list now.
God. Please.
You sent the distress call that brought the
That's
Marines
funny,
here.
yeah.
That was contrary to the company's interests. Consider this an official reprimand.
Oh, no! No! Not like this.
Get her to the stasis pod. It's her only chance. Hypersleep will
I got
keep
you.
the corporal alive
I got you,
until we
baby.
can get her to a proper medical
Go night night, okay? Just the cool guys and giant balls.
right now.
Okay, here. I'll make it all better. I love you. And now what? God damn it, Doc. You're supposed to get that thing out of her! Hey, you're kinda
Hello,
cute too.
Private. It's good to finally meet you. Please, don't be alarmed.
You fucking know it.
And please, don't
The
use
thing
the
I
term
wanted help
artificial
was with
person.
finally getting all
I
those
prefer to be
point
called what I
alerts
am.
running, but I
An
can't
android.
wait for that.
The
Point
company
alerts?
needs me, but I'm on
For
your
the
side,
Sonic
not
thing?
theirs. With your colonial marine cruiser and its dropships destroyed.
That's because it feels as
There's
how I
only
feel when I
one
eat
way
anything
left
with
of
red
planet.
sauce. Oh, do you have like a sense of
There.
stomach or something?
That device in Wayland's hand.
The Wayland's
It's an
hand.
executive data pad with an emergency transmitter. His personal rescue dropship will home right to it.
Oh, you're
I'll
fucking
prep the
robot.
corporal for travel. You go to the pyramid and get that data pad.
I
I'll
can't get you
rendezvous with
pregnant.
Oh, and Private. Say goodbye to Mr. Wayland for me, will you?
Yeah, I got you. This bitch said, find my iPad, I need my Angry Birds. And she's like, I gotta open my fucking Pokemon packs. I have a friend who's obsessed with the Pokemon trading card game Pocket.
I've sent the route to the pyramid, to your hut.
Bye. Oh.
Fortunate news. The power has gone down across the facility.
Yeah, it's fucking chaos right now. Holy shit. You motherfucker. What? Oh, it got me. What? Oh, there was a xenomorph got me. Good morning, brother. Hey, what up, Finzetti? How you doing? I get heartburn and indigestion bad from red sauce, hot foods, and citrus. Lame. And your stomach too. Quit sucking. Nice. There's gotta be more somewhere around here. Scaled. What time is it over there? We have 8:44. I'm in Germany. Oh, nice. It is 11:44 p.m. for me right now in America. Las Vegas specifically. I can eat it. I will just feel like I have chest burster in my stomach and throat. So you get like bad acid reflux and shit. It sucks. Are you an Alien fan by chance, Finzetti?
Stim. You alive? Yeah, he's alive. Yeah, it's one of my weaknesses. Nice. Ooh, I always like looking at this kind of stuff. Oh shit. Oh, there he is. What? Oh, wait. I can't move. Why can't I move? You up here too? You actually might be. You guys wiggle so I can see where you're at. Oh, there you are. God damn it. The scope is more effective than your shotgun blast. Yeah, it is. That's why I'm keeping that instead of the pulse rifle. As much as I love the pulse rifle. I'm back here now. Alright, I got it this time. God damn it. I hit with the EMP. I keep forgetting about that. And there's gonna be a dude up here. Your layout works perfectly fine, by the way. I bought it on Etsy if you remember me. Oh god, this does ring a bell. What was it? The was it Final Fantasy? Was it that overlay? Welcome, Final Fantasy 7. Yeah. What up? How you doing? Yeah. Let me give you a shout out. I appreciated the feedback, by the way. But yeah, I got you. You stream, right? And then customer, no, you're fine. No, I appreciated it. I think what happened was I just got busy with other things, and I didn't mean to leave you on red. So my apologies on that. Finzetti, do you stream, Finzetti? Give you a shout out. Oh yeah, of course, you got the fucking layout. Sorry. Oh, no clips. What was that? I don't see the notification. Oh, you subbed. Oh, appreciate that. Thank you, Finzetti. Another sub. I appreciate that. Everybody, Finzetti's streaming Final Fantasy 7 from Germany. You should give him a follow. But yeah, no, I appreciated the feedback and everything. I saw the review and I was like, oh, I gotta handle this. Okay, I sent him videos all the time and he never replies back. Not much streaming, just casual here and there. That's kind of where I'm at lately. I'm trying to be more consistent, but I work a lot, you know. I'm sure you can see. I try streaming, I have my overlay thing on Etsy, and then also I have a full-time job. And I do some freelance. But yeah, thank you so much for the sub, I appreciate that. And it's always nice seeing a happy customer. Sorry about the initial thing with that, but I'm glad we got that squared away. So it's morning for you. Are you getting ready for work? Happy Friday. Oh, damn it. There's so many of them. Is there more here? No.
in-game is a bit too loud, brother. I can't hear you. Still? Oh, dang. I've been getting that feedback. I've been lowering it. Okay. Let me lower it some more. It's going to click off, so ignore that. But I'll lower it down to fucking, like, 40. Let's do that. And hopefully this works. Oh, fuck. And I forgot to minimize the doohickey. So let me minimize that so I can see chat. And then thank you, boy, for the redeem. Ignore my messy desktop, please. Here we go. How's this? Is it still too loud? Probably. God damn it, no! I forgot to heal. Here, let me turn it down more. Let's lower this shit down to like 20. Let's do 30. Alright. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. And I really should get yeah. Better. Okay, cool. Turn this up then. Dang, I never had that happen before. It's that loud. But I appreciate the feedback. Oh shit. Have you played this game before? Volume is too low. Are you serious? Oh yeah. JK, okay. Ya boy. And then the audience goes, ah ha 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 ha. But yeah, Finn. I'm calling you Finn. You working today? It's Friday morning for you. Nice. Oh, Keith. Oh shit. Oh my god. At least this game finally got challenging. I got this asshole up here. Look at me, Hector. Yes, Friday morning. Nice. What do you do if you don't mind me asking? Yeah, these guys are like xenomorphs, or not xenomorphs, necromorphs, so I have to like aim for the limbs. Let's see where this other motherfucker's at. Let me hug the wall. Oh shit. Oh, I'm stuck. Yeah, dude, my mouse is like losing connection. Or my keyboard is like losing connection every now and then. I freeze up. I can look, but I can't move, which is annoying. We had yesterday a public holiday. Oh, nice. Holiday day, but everyone is picking for today holiday too. Oh, okay. We do that at my job too. It's like we have Thanksgiving, but for some reason we don't have Black Friday off, so we usually use our PTO to get that off. Yeah, look at that. I like stop moving every now and then. It's gonna get me killed again. Oh, this is where it wants me to go. I think there's cool shit in here. Well, holiday. To connect 4 free days with the weekend. Oh, 4-day weekend. Hell yeah, dude. That's what's up. That we got the shotgun. Okay, I'm gonna roll with where can I pick it up? There we go.
Nature creates beauty in many forms.
This is the new one.
Despite the chaos.
I'm working with EU and the time difference sucks. Oh really? Oh, so you know about what Finn's talking about? Maybe I need to plug it in. Maybe it's a battery issue.
Here's my goal. To harness
Do
your
that.
species.
Maybe I need to charge my keyboard. Oh wait, but no, there was grenades back here too. Let me go pick that up. Probably I stay on late so I can get them when they start work. Okay. How's work been, dude? Imagine having a wireless keyboard. It was a good idea at the time. My setup looks nice with nothing connected to it. Where are you from? I will send these nuts on your chin. Yeah, Deadwolf and I live in the same city.
Despite
Las Vegas.
watching you grow
Yup.
these weeks, observing intimately for hour after hour, you still fill me with all
It's called Ascension Day. Oh, okay.
biotechnical treasure.
Oh, that's... I see what... Okay, that's funny. Sorry, it was hard to keep up on chat with all the chaos. Oh, we got another queen. Oh, it's the same one? Your mom's cannon fodder. Look it over there. Place Fred Flintstone went to for the second movie. Rock Vegas.
If it holds what I suspect it must.
Oh, good luck with us Europeans.
Yutani is the dominant force for progress. And
Yeah, it's cool. You're I think you're only the second customer I've had to hop in my stream. That's really cool. Actually, I'm gonna give you a follow. Oh, I'm already following. Nice. Sick. Cool. Cool. Oh boy. Go for the robots. Imagine an extremely dissatisfied customer pops in your stream and starts roasting you. That's a risk I run, because my shop name is my handle. And it's clearly me in my previews for my overlays and stuff. But yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think Finn needed a custom thing that I was lagging on. And, we fixed it. Sorry again.
From our first voyages of discovery to faster-than-light commerce.
So the same sniper rifle? This one looks a little different. Yeah, honestly, I think I like this more than... What? This one, it's got the grenade, and I have 3 grenades. That's super handy. So, I might swap out the shotgun. What do you think? If I'm asking you about the layout, I will refer to you. Oh, if you're asking about it, oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Much appreciated. I do like what I do. It's hard to find the time. Usually what it is either get just a strike of inspiration, or I want to make an overlay for my stream, you know? And then people seem to like it, and they're like, oh, you should sell it. So I was like, oh, yeah. It's working. But no, I appreciate that. That was very sweet. So you're from Germany? That's cool. Is this translating, or do you know English as well? Well, wait, that's so stupid. We're talking. Never mind. I'm fucking dumb.
From our first voyage
do you have that cool accent?
to faster-than-light commerce. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation is the vanguard of the new frontier. Weyland-Yutani is building a better world.
I would like to stop by here more often, but our time zones are too far from each other. I was lucky today because of the holiday. Yeah, there's that. Also, oh yeah, because you'd be at work by the time. Or sleeping. Oh, that's actually true. Every now and then I try my best to do a weekend stream, but those are pretty rare. But yeah, glad you're here.
our first voyages of discovery.
Oh, 3-minute break. Sorry, guys.
Faster than light commerce.
Oh, you subbed. But you didn't have to do. That was really nice. My English is so bad. I have hard German accent. When you stream, do you stream speaking German, right? I want to catch one of your streams. I'm hard too. Nice.
Faster than light commerce.
Nothing like playing an alien game and shooting robots.
Weyland-Yutani Corporation has been at the vanguard of a new frontier. Weyland-Yutani, building a better world.
Did I kill him? You dead yet? Yeah. But my roots are from the Balkan, if you heard of it. I haven't. Is it a country? What's the Balkan? Is it like a more rural?
From our first voyages to faster than light commerce. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation has been at the vanguard.
Yeah, this is also, no, that's a shotgun. Balkans are a geographical region, including multiple countries. South Europe, close to Greece. Oh, okay, okay. It's a region of several countries. Okay, cool. The more you know.
Over there, Private. Those are the elevators.
I'm from the Vegas. I'm actually from Texas. I've been here since like I was 12, so. Hey, I'm 35. Wasn't supposed to be like this.
Wayland's behavior is increasingly
Supposed to be 22 forever.
Is his obsession part of the personality coding, or is it a replicating error between different generational models?
Oh my God, old man chat. Yeah, that's
I know
me.
he doesn't like me. Perhaps I remind him too much of himself.
Oh shit. Hold on, I have to fix something real quick. Oops. Hey, it's Jill. Can't wait for Alien vs Predator in real life. Oh, that'd be kind of cool. One day, hopefully we get something like that. Bro, I'm old too. I'm 32. Nice. You have gray hairs yet? I pulled a gray nose hair and had like an existential crisis. And I'm like, it's in me. Yeah, let's keep that. Aha, you old fucks. Jay, you're 38, 37, 38? Oh, this is where I have to be. Interact with what? Okay. This one gray hair, but on the front, nice. I have some gray peppered in here. My pubes all turned white. Yeah, I found a white pube too. That don't freak me out. It's happening! No!
You'll have to find an alternative route to the elevator. One moment.
Wait until you get old, haha. No, Jay's older than us. I'm 37, yeah. He just brings it up because I have like legit, I think it's a phobia. Like I have legit anxieties about getting older. I'm vocal about it. But he has a healthy outlook. I'm working on it. Rip then. Imagine pistol whipping a fucking xenomorph, dude. I don't mind aging. I got over my existential issues years ago. Yeah, I think I need like therapy. Don't we all? Who's got time for therapy? I'm just kidding. That's not a good thing to say on stream. Anybody who might need to go. kill him? Oh, I killed him. Got him. I feel like I'm going in circles. Everything looks the same.
Commerce, the lifeblood of human endeavor. Exploring new frontiers.
No, honestly, I think this is better than a shotgun. It's faster, more accurate.
Technology. Providing hope in homes.
This game's never gonna end.
Weyland-Yutani. Building better worlds.
I'll have breakfast. See you later. All right, peace out, Finn. I'm glad you showed up. Another happy customer.
And now, my creation, my...
Enjoy your breakfast and enjoy your day off and your 4-day weekend. I want a 4-day weekend. Actually, at the end of the month, I do technically have a 4-day weekend. I'm going to Monster Palooza in Anaheim. I'm running a booth.
Exploring new frontiers. Discovering new resources. Inventing new technology.
To be honest, I kind of think therapy is bad for you. I don't think it really helps. It leads to dwelling on issues unless your mental issue is something literally unavoidable, like a fear of the outdoor or people or something. You're better off just not thinking about it. I mean, like I said, my thing would be aging. I don't know. It's weird. And I've had people talk to me about possible depression. But I don't know. I don't like TikTok diagnosing myself. You know, people do. So I don't know. There it is. Ah! Fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. You fucking thought. You fucking thought. Oh god, there's more. Oh shit. Oh shit. I blew myself up. Those fix my issues. Nice. Fuck. Whoa. God damn, that didn't take a lot of time at all. Alright.
Finally, a challenge.
Oh shit, I thought we connect. No. More. Oh, I thought I could. Damn. Just talk to the other versions of yourself across the multiverse. It's free. I'll let you know how that goes. Oh my god, dude. It's like once it hits me, it's like I get stun locked. Nice. Ah! No, I don't want trouble. Damn it, I blew myself up again! Get on my level, noob. I know, right? Alright, this is the one. I think I have a strat. That might work. I'll quit sucking. Shit. Fuck off. No, 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 no! Oh shit. Oh my god! No! H! H, motherfucker! Do you press it? Okay. Woo! Woo! Also, I honestly think weed and booze are bad for mental health, but I don't judge. Yeah, that's something I need to fucking work on too. I just be trading vices, you know? Like, oh, let me stop smoking, and I start drinking. Oh, let me stop drinking, and I start smoking. Which is the root issue. Actually, oh, let me go this way. Wait, don't leave me! Okay. Whew, that was close. Let's see. Continue Marine. What time is it, actually? Yeah, fuck. This might be the longest campaign. The Marine, I thought I'd be done by now, because Alien was like 3 hours. Basically, drop the weed and hit the gym 3 times a week, and you might help. Oh, honestly, dude, yeah, that's hard to do. I do feel better overall when I'm at the gym. So that's something I do want to work on. Do it. Fist bump. It's hard to do it consistently with my schedule. I did have something that was working because it's hard to do throughout the week. But if I can go Monday, Tuesday, and then a weekday night, maybe Tuesday, then I feel like that's something. So let me try that again. When did I stop? Oh, god damn it! It crashed. Did it crash? All I did was click on the fucking menu. I went sober for 9 months straight. My mental health declined. Oh well, when I first started streaming, I went about, aside from my birthday and then a trip to San Diego, I went almost a year without drinking at all, and that was awesome. I would like to consider that again. But dude, a beer in a video game is so nice. But yeah, no, I gotta get that in check. But tell you what, I gotta go to bed. Speaking of, that's another thing. I significantly improved my sleep schedule. So yeah, I need to work on other things, but that's progress, I'd like to say. Because you know, I used to fucking work until 3 or 4 a.m. and then I would wake up at like 7 for work. I very rarely drink, and I haven't smoked in like 4 years. I also get a lot of exercise. If I didn't eat like a pig, I'd be healthy as fuck. Stop eating all that Italian food. Skitty's bad for you. This is all carbs. I'm just kidding. You taking a nap? I don't trust anyone that takes naps. Oh, shut the fuck up. He has like a vendetta against fucking naps. It's crazy. John Bernthal. It's like, nah, man. The world's moving while you're napping. It's like, dude, naps are good for you. Hold on, let's see. Let's go to let's do this, and then let us wait. Hey, quit app. Who's live? Actually have a decent chunk of people I can carry over. Who we got? We got Meat Canyon streaming. Funny. Jason Bourne is playing Forza Horizon 6. Vanity's playing Marvel Rivals. Jade Infinite's playing Elden Ring. She's nice. Bree Cosplays is playing Pragmata. Oh hey, Bradtastic Ninja is playing Final Fantasy 15. You guys want to see a New Zealand guy play Final Fantasy 15? Or who's Agatha? Who this is? Playing OG Silent Hill 2? Oh, Cardboard Cowboy, he's funny. This dude's a trip. I might raid the cowboy. What's Bree playing? Pragmata. Oh, but she's about to end, looks like. Somebody? Yeah, who's playing Alien? Let's see. Or, Playing some Resident Evil. We're playing Requiem and 6. That's funny. What'd I miss? Not much. I threw up. Oh, did you really, dude? I'm sorry to hear that. It's bedtime for me. You got anybody you want me to raid? Otherwise, I might do what's Fuse Deluxe playing? Playing Pokemon. You guys don't like Pokemon. I hope you feel better, dog. We can do Forza Horizon. Yeah, Jason Bourne's cool. Because I want a racing game. Now these niggas ain't worth it. Ain't worthy. Raid Big Jibba? Fuck is this? Music. Alright, yeah, I can do that. Is he one of your buddies? I'll read him. Alright, everybody. Most likely streaming tomorrow, but Fridays are iffy just because I get hit up by like, yo, let's get some sushi and shit, so who knows. Big Jibba. Peace out, Jay. Peace out, your boy. Peace out, DJ. Peace out, Travi, Zara, Ninja. We got Dead Wolf up in this bitch. We out here. Got that right? Yeah. Alright, family. You guys have a great one. I go sleep now. In a second. Here we go.